Have you ever wondered why you wake up in the morning? Not the usual question of what time you set your alarm, but a deeper, more intense question. What do you wake up for? Do you open your eyes simply to get to work, to fulfill a responsibility, to continue a day you have little control over? Or do you have a powerful reason to get out of bed, something that pulls you up with clarity and vitality? This is not a criticism, this is a wake-up call. Most people don't live, they just survive. They let life drag them through their days, waking up because the alarm goes off, not because of a purpose. They repeat the same tiresome cycle. Go to work, come home, check your phone, sleep, start over. No fire, no meaning, just repetition. But it doesn't have to be you, because somewhere inside you there's a part of you that's tired of meaninglessness. There is a part of you that still yearns for something bigger, deeper, more worthy. That part is waiting for you to make a decision. Continue to wake up for habit or start waking up for a reason. From this moment on, start asking a new question every morning. What am I living for? Because a person without a reason has no strength to fight. But a person with a purpose doesn't need an alarm clock. They are pulled up by their own vision, and that is the beginning of all change. There is a profound difference between the person who lives with the belief that everything will be all right and the person who acts as if everything is already set in stone. The difference lies in the results. The first person waits, hopes, reassures himself that one day something good will come. The second person does not wait. He acts with certainty, as if what he dreams of is already a part of reality, only waiting for time to catch up. This is not pretending. It is a state of mind, a new operating system for the mind. When you act as if success is inevitable, you begin to carry a different aura. You no longer hesitate in your words, no longer hesitate in your decisions. You enter the room with a presence that commands attention, not because you are wearing a flashy exterior, but because you are living the identity of someone who has chosen to win. Look at the people who made history. Henry Ford did not wait for the automobile industry to develop before entering. He walked in with his vision as if it were already undeniable. Thomas Edison didn't invent the light bulb because he was sure it would work, but because he believed in a future where it did. Andrew Carnegie didn't build the steel empire because he waited for the perfect opportunity, but because he acted as if it had already come true. They don't live by hope. They live by decision. When you act as if you force your subconscious mind to adapt to your new identity. You walk, talk, work, and make choices as someone who is actually living success, not trying to find it. And when you stay in that state, the world begins to adjust to you. People sense it. Opportunities begin to appear. Doors open. Not because you got lucky, but because you created gravity with your state of mind. The difference is not in the circumstances, but in how you approach them. The person who lives with hesitation will always find a reason to procrastinate. The person who lives as if everything is already decided will always find a way to move forward. When you act as if the outcome is already decided, you are no longer swayed by temporary setbacks. You do not let petty opinions derail you. You do not get bogged down in details. You have a vision, you have a destination, and you act with the calmness of someone who already sees victory. So from today, walk as if everything is already set. Work as if success is only a matter of time. Talk as if you already know where you are going. Because the world does not reward those who expect. It rewards those who act as if they already deserve. Many people mistakenly think that living with purpose is living with inspiration. They wait for a spark, an idea to strike, a moment of enlightenment to guide them. But true purpose is not a breeze that shakes you for a few seconds and then disappears. Purpose is a calling. It is something you cannot help but do. It is an inner voice that keeps on speaking even when you try to ignore it. It does not come when you relax. It comes when you face yourself. An inspired person can start, but only a purposeful person can finish. Inspiration is a flame that can be extinguished. Purpose is a slow, steady heat. You do not need to feel inspired every morning to do your work. You need to know why you must do it, even when no one sees it, no one acknowledges it, no one understands. Purpose makes the ordinary sacred. It makes morning practice a ritual. It makes patience with detail a mission. Turn pain into evidence of the rightness of your path. People with purpose don't live by schedules, they live by oaths. They don't choose easily, they choose precisely, and that creates an inimitable presence. You can imitate someone's skills, their words, their actions, their style, but you can't imitate someone who lives with a clear why, because every action they take is distilled from a deep anchor. There's no guesswork. There's just presence. Have you ever seen someone walk into a room and say nothing but still command attention? They don't shout, they don't try, they simply carry themselves with a quiet strength. It's not a spur-of-the-moment confidence. It's the inevitable consequence of living with purpose. When you know why you exist, you don't have to prove anything. Your presence is the proof. Purpose is also a shield. When you live a purpose-driven life, you are less susceptible to judgment. You are less likely to be sidetracked by praise or criticism because you don't act for approval. You act because you have no choice. You have decided that this is your path, and the world has no choice but to go with you or sidestep you. Ask yourself, what is it that no one is paying you, no one is appreciating you, no one is supporting you, but you can't stop thinking about? What is it that makes you feel pain if you don't do it? The answer is a calling. And if you hear it, don't ignore it. Start building your life around it. Don't live for a whim. Live for a reason. Every morning, you don't need inspiration. You need to rise as a man who has been called. Purpose is a mission that you cannot betray. And if you have the courage to live it, the world will no longer dare to ignore you. Because people with purpose don't need to find a way. They are the ones who create their own path. And in the end, they are the ones who leave their own traces. What kills a person is not failure. It is not incompetence. It is ambiguity. Not knowing what you want, not knowing what you are living for, not having a clear picture of who you want to be. It is that ambiguity that keeps you in a constant state of procrastination, not because you are lazy, but because you do not have a clear enough reason to start. A person who does not know the destination will go slowly, or go wrong, or stand still. You cannot go fast if you do not know where you are going. You cannot have discipline if you do not know how valuable your pursuit is, and you cannot sustain action when your mind is just vague ideas, floating images with no specific anchor. The only way to break through ambiguity is to rewrite your identity. Set a specific image of who you want to be, not who society wants you to be, not the acceptable version of yourself. It's who you know you can be if you're no longer distorted by fear, judgment, or compromise. Dare to write down who I am, what I live for, what I don't compromise on, and no path will I stray from, no matter how difficult. Clarity doesn't come by itself. It's created through intentional action. Every day you need to recreate your new identity. Read it aloud. Write it down. Feel it in every step, every word, every decision. You can't expect to have a strong mind when you wake up every morning with no idea of who you are. And you can't live with purpose when your head is in a fog. From today on, don't let ambiguity rule you. Choose clarity, choose structure, choose identity. Because if you don't intentionally define yourself, the world will. And more often than not, it will choose the most mediocre version. It only takes 90 days to become a completely different version of yourself. This is not a cliché. This is not some cheap motivational campaign. This is a fact. This is a proven principle. If you spend 90 consecutive days living as if you are already the person you want to be, everything inside you will begin to change. Your new identity does not come in a dream. It is forged through repeated intentional action until it is no longer about trying, it is about being. Most people do not lack dreams. They lack structure. They do not have a system to keep them committed to a better version of themselves. Inspiration comes and goes. Motivation ebbs and flows. Systems last. And 90 days is the optimal structure for forming a new identity. Not a week, not a month, 3 months straight, without interruption, without negotiation, without excuses. For those 90 days, you do not act on emotion. You act on decisions. You don't live by random schedules. You live by principles. Principle number 1, every day begins with a purpose. There are no random days. There are no see what I want to do today mornings. You already know who you are. You've decided what you need to do. And you start every day like a soldier going into battle for a cause, not for a hobby. These 90 days will revolve around 4 pillars. The first is the mind. Every morning, you spend at least an hour recharging your consciousness. Deep reading, goal journaling, strategic reflection, no surfing the net, no consuming junk information. You dig deep. You cultivate. You put new codes into your brain to operate more precisely. The second is the body. Every day you move not for physical fitness, but for mental endurance. You train yourself in sweat and effort, because a weak body cannot contain a strong will. You need energy, you need endurance, you need to be comfortable with pressure. Third is mission. You spend at least 90 minutes a day moving closer to your biggest goal in life. No interruptions, no compromises. It could be the work you're building, the skill you're learning, the dream you're pursuing. If you're not clear on what your mission is, that 90 minutes is your time to figure it out through action. Not through thinking, through real experience. Fourth is silence. At least 15 minutes a day doing nothing but sitting still. No devices, no sounds, just you and your breath. This is where you clear the noise, refocus, and check that you're still on track. Silence is not rest. It's the foundation for quality action. But most importantly, the invisible pillar that holds it all together. No negotiation, no excuses, no, I'm tired today. No, take a day off and make up for it. There is no flexibility here, because identity is not born of weakness. It is born of unbreakable commitment. Every day you follow through, you build a new mental structure. Every day you keep a promise to yourself. You send a powerful signal to your subconscious. I am this kind of person. And once your subconscious believes, the behavior will follow. 90 days won't make you superhuman, but it will make you unrecognizable. You no longer live in doubt. You no longer wait for inspiration. You act, you show up. You become the pillar of your own life. And when those 90 days are over, you don't have to try to maintain it anymore, because at that point, you are no longer the same person. You are a new person, living with purpose, acting with weight, and waking up every morning as if the world is waiting for you to start. Fear and doubt are not the problem. The problem is that you have become accustomed to letting them guide you. They are not facts, they are habits. Every time you sit still instead of moving forward, every time you procrastinate instead of starting, you are not only feeding fear, you are teaching yourself that avoidance is the safe way. And then it becomes a reflex, a toxic reflex that kills progress before it even begins. You don't have to wait for fear to go away before you act. You have to act so that fear has no voice, because what makes fear stronger is not the situation, it is procrastination. The longer you wait, the louder it gets. The more you stay silent, the louder it gets. Action is the only way to regain control. Not perfect action, not a giant leap, just a small movement forward, a phone call, a line of writing, a step, a decisive choice. Think of fear as a dark door. From a distance, it looks like a wall. But when you get closer and put your hand on the doorknob, you realize it's unlocked. You open it, and there's nothing as terrifying as you imagined. That's what action does to unmask fear. It makes the seemingly insurmountable seem trivial. You don't have to destroy fear. You just have to go through it long enough to see it as a shadow. The same goes for doubt. It's not a true reflection of reality. It's a legacy of past failures, of criticisms that have been rooted in you for too long. But you don't owe the past any promises. You don't have to live by the old definition. When you start acting against doubt, you reprogram yourself. You're sending a new message. I am a doer, not a waiter. I am a decider, not a avoider. I am a vision, not a fear. Every small action you take in spite of fear is proof. Not for others to believe in you, but for you to believe in yourself. Confidence is not a gift that falls from the sky. It is the result of a series of actions that overcome fear. Each time you take a step, you solidify a new identity. This person is no longer controlled by doubt. This person moves even though it shakes. This person dares to live bigger than what once nested in his head. And from that moment, you do not just step out of fear. You step into a new land where action is no longer dependent on emotion, where you are in charge. where the world begins to respond to the power you thought you did not have. But you always had. It is only now you are finally using it. Leadership does not begin with titles, with power, or with the spotlight. Leadership begins from within. You cannot lead others until you lead yourself, and that begins the moment you wake up every morning. Not just opening your eyes and getting out of bed, but standing up with the attitude of a person who is responsible for his own life. A person who does not wait for someone to remind him, does not wait for someone to lead him, does not need the world's permission to start acting. True leaders do not live by mood. They live by commitment. Their mornings are not determined by emotions, but by internal standards. They do not check social media as soon as they open their eyes. They check themselves. They do not ask what to do today. They already know. Every morning is an executive session, and the first person they have to command is themselves. When you choose to live like a leader, every small action carries weight. The way you get out of bed, the way you take a deep breath before starting the day, the way you organize your desk, the way you prepare for your most important task. No behavior is trivial. Everything carries the message: I am disciplined, purposeful, and I do not wait for anyone else to start. Leading yourself means not giving in to your weak ego. It means when the voice in your head tells you to sleep for 5 more minutes, you respond with action. When procrastination comes, you fight back with decisiveness. When you keep your promises to yourself when no one is looking, you build the most powerful power of all, inner confidence. No one is born a leader, but everyone can choose to be the leader of their own life. And that choice begins not in the office, not on a podium, but in the quiet room where you open your eyes each morning. From there, you don't just control your day, you control yourself. And that is the strongest foundation for leading anything else. Success doesn't come after you change. Success comes when you start acting like you've changed. Most people wait for a proof, a result, a feeling strong enough to start living differently. But the truth is that results come after action, and action can only be sustained if you operate from a new identity. The paradox is that you have to act like a changed person, even if nothing has really changed. Because identity is not a reward. It's a prerequisite. If you wait until you feel confident to talk like a leader, you'll never talk. If you wait until you're in perfect shape to train like an athlete, you'll never start. If you wait until you're successful to live like a successful person, you'll always be the same person. You have to reverse the cycle. Don't wait for change to take action. Take action to make change. Start simple. The person you want to be, what do they do in the morning? What time do they wake up? What do they say to themselves when they look in the mirror? What do they eat? What do they read? How do they react when faced with difficulties? Write down the specific behaviors of that version, then start doing them, even if it feels awkward, even if there is internal resistance, even if people around you don't see the difference. Keep going. Because your mind doesn't distinguish between real and fake. It only distinguishes between what is repeated. Every time you act as if you are already that person, you are sending a powerful signal to your subconscious. This is me. Every decisive step, every courageous decision, every time you keep a promise to yourself, all are evidence of a new identity forming. And when your subconscious accepts it as real, every subsequent action becomes natural. You no longer have to try. You are simply yourself, but a higher, clearer, stronger self. Living as if you have changed is not faking it. It is actively building your identity. Just as someone learning a new language must speak before they understand it, someone living a new life must act before they see results. You don't need to wait for more data. You just need to start behaving like someone who has already entered the next chapter. And then there will come a time when you look back and realize, I don't have to try to be that version anymore. I already am that person. Not because anyone else approves, not because circumstances have changed, but because I've been living that way for a long time. And the world finally has to agree. No one tells you this clearly enough. If you truly live a life of purpose, you will experience pain. Not physical pain, but the cracks in your soul. The sense of isolation as you separate yourself from the crowd to walk a path that only you understand. The mornings when you wake up and there is no one to comfort you, no applause, no recognition, just you, silent and determined, facing your task. Purpose is a promise you make to yourself, and keeping that promise means sacrificing comfort. You will have to say no to temporary invitations, ignore pleasant distractions, endure the looks of doubt and sometimes even ridicule. It is not glamour, it is harsh. But in that harshness, you begin to be refined. The pain you feel is not a sign that you are on the wrong path. It is a confirmation that you are colliding with a deeper level of reality. Those who live temporarily do not suffer. They are just fading away. You who have chosen to live for something greater than yourself must accept the challenge that comes with it. But remember, you are hurting for the right thing. And that is the most worthwhile pain a human being can bear. Because if the purpose does not change you, if it does not make you struggle and quiet in the late nights, then perhaps it is not real enough. But if you keep going despite everything, you are not just enduring the pain, you are overcoming it to become the person your destiny is waiting for.